health and safety of the team supporting this mission is our priority. Let me assure you, by providing pre-deployment training, adhering to strict medical protocols while deployed, and carrying out carefully planned reintegration measures based on risk and exposure, I am confident that we can ensure our service members' safety and the safety of their families and the American people.
The mere fact American troops are right in the thick of the Ebola crisis in Western Africa has a good number of people here at home up in arms. But now one of our Euro allies is ticked off at our latest move to protect those members of the military and the world in general. Add to that the furor over quarantine in the first place, and the pot boils over. Welcome back to MidPoint. Senior fellow at the Center for Advanced Defense Studies, expert in counterterrorism and military intelligence, retired from the United States Army, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. Lieutenant Colonel, good to see you again.
Good to be on. Thank you for having me.
Is it not fair to say right off the bat that the 21-day quarantine that has been ordered for all military personnel serving in the Ebola-stricken areas is exactly the right thing to do?
Oh, absolutely. The abundance of caution that I keep hearing about, but so little heed actually being paid to it by the White House, is absolutely the course of action necessary. There's far too many questions, Ed, about how Ebola is spread. The NBC cameraman, for example, I think is one of those who still can't answer how he got it. And I don't believe for a minute he was actually touching or handling any bodily fluid. So that alone indicates to me that you must emphasize the use of caution no matter how you deal with this. So when I see President Obama come out shaking hands with people who were in the region, doesn't do anything except cause more people to ask more questions about why is there a dual standard, a standard that the military is actually following using good science, good medical protocols, and yet you have the president playing politics, trying to say nothing to see here, don't worry about it. And now you have the Italians are up in arms because we are going to do the right thing. We're going to put the soldiers coming out of East Africa into isolation for 21 days, but we're not bringing them here. We're bringing them to Italy. So you can't help but, if it wasn't so serious, laugh at the complete lack of focus and policy debacle this White House has turned the whole Ebola issue into.
Is it not, again, just what we have always talked about? It is leadership that must come from the president, because there must be an answer. There must be a decisive individual sitting there making these calls, but we consistently are getting different calls. We can't,
Right.
You can't waver in this. You cannot dither, because just what you said, we follow science. Absolutely, we don't want to panic, but you need to take every precaution possible.
Oh, and absolutely. And this is where his Ebola czar, or lack of the Ebola czar showing up, is quite telling. I mean, the Ebola czar should be the president's proxy for trying to clarify what's right and wrong. And the only thing I can think of is maybe Ron Klain is the best copy getter in the world, because apparently that's all he's doing. He's not out actually doing his job of trying to organize and show leadership in this. And then to your other point, Ed, when you talk about global leadership, it's one thing to say that we are doing everything in our capacity to help. Another thing completely to show that we're not willing to protect the American people.
With regard to that protection of the American people, and I wanted to get your opinion on this as well, seeing as it all affects leadership, Ebola, and what's happening here, the governor of Maine has now gotten what he wanted, at least a piece of what he wanted, with regard to the nurse who's there, who says she's fine, she's going to go ahead, she'll go out and do whatever she wants. Doesn't that, though, speak to the fact that there is still a problem here? Don't take the chance. The government in this case is right in so many ways. The governors are right. The military's right. Sit down, shut up, and stop worrying about yourself for 21 days.
That is the absolute answer. I mean, a medical professional, this nurse, to me, brings a whole new negative meaning to the word medical professional. You always need to act in the best possible manner to preserve life and health. And the arrogance she's showing is mind-boggling. As you said, Ed, just sit down, take 21 days off, just chill. The governor of Maine is right. Chris Christie is right. Governor Cuomo was right till apparently he caved to the political narrative that the White House asked him to follow. You need to act what's in the best interest of your citizens, not on what one individual's whims or opinions. And again, this is what I see coming out of the White House. President Obama has a very strong opinion that he wants to keep borders open, he wants to keep people traveling, and is even willing to admit that it is very likely we're going to see more Ebola here. Well, that's on him. He's going against the very medical science, which has helped, for example, stabilize a number of countries in Africa. African dictators have better common sense about this than our own president.
All right, after the break, we return with Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. We spin to Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the sudden realization the ISIS killers are not as ill-educated as we first thought. And at 43 minutes after the hour, we'll peek into the latest polling numbers from key midterm races.